Yeah, but that's, I think that's the interesting thing is it's this, I think it's always gold. Uh,
Of course.
whatever, yeah, it's amazing because then it's, so
And that's another thing. I hate to interrupt you, but anyway.
go on.
That's another thing that's impossible for the person to see, to
Yeah,
see that it's always gold. Because
yeah.
person function is always judging everything and trying to get to the good one, the good part. That's just the way it works.
Yeah,
So,
it's just
yeah,
the way.
anyway.
Yeah, exactly. And it's, I don't know. I don't know about you, but recently I've had, I don't know, on the last few weeks I've had I don't know, 3, 4, 5, I don't remember, people either telling me or contacting me privately saying, well, saying pretty much the same thing, like, haven't you had enough of, like, it must be so exhausting to talk how you talk all the time. And I'm like, but there's no how I talk. It's just, it's literally, it's easier than making coffee. Like it's just, there's no active thinking that goes through it. Do you know what I mean? Like literally, like it's as easy as making coffee, whatever. But it's
right.
And yeah, it's always gold. It's always gold, and it's always just, it never actually matters. It's just, yeah, beautiful. I don't know.
Right. It's a cliche to say something like, well, does the sun get tired shining, or do the trees get tired?
Yeah, it's just what happens. And you're right. I mean, as you were saying earlier, it's so long as there's this story of this and seeking energy or whatever, just it can be seen at some point that basically this is it, but that there is no seeking, or however you want to call that. But until then, there's gonna be this movement of well, there is something that needs to change. There is something that needs to be seen. It's terrible. I mean, I don't know. It's terrible. I mean, I don't know. It's not terrible, but it's,
well, it is in a way.
It is. I mean, right? I mean, for me, it was. It just, but
right.
But
and people don't like to hear that. That's kind of a hard thing to But I mean, yeah.
Well,
really
literally, who wants to hear that this is it as it is? Like, just no.
Yeah.
No. Well, yeah. Sorry. Yeah. I mean,
right.
And people know that. Sorry, I keep interrupting you, but I'm so sorry. But people know that. And on the one hand, it's because it's obvious, but on the other hand, you could say that knowing that is the issue, because it's nothing that's known. I mean, it's just obviousness itself. It's just
right. In a way, that's why we talk. Why you and I are, in a way, that's kind of partly why.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess there's many reasons, and no reason at the same time. But I'd say that too. It's just because I mean, out of the people who share this, I mean, this, I don't know, this kind of, in a way, I would say, I don't know what you think about that, but what strikes me is this, it's always the same message, but there is some kind of a different message, in the sense, how can I say, some people talk about love, for example, right? And I don't know, maybe I will. I guess sometimes I do. I don't know, but it's not something like that. If it comes, it comes, but it's not something that, there's no preference. Let's put it like this, for that here, simply because it's, I don't know. I actually find that confusing. I mean, not anymore, obviously, but because where I'm coming from, it's nowhere, obviously, but in the sense, what I talk about is just the simplicity of what is. And I don't know that to be whatever form of love or no love it would be, if that makes sense. No freaking idea. But at the same time, sure, unconditional love, obvious, no question. But it's, fuck that word, like, really, it's like, fuck that word. I don't know, that's just me, all right? I don't know. And so I think there's different how can I say, just this different, yeah, messages. I don't know if I'm making sense. I'm probably not, and I'm not making sense actually. But
well, no, I think you are. I mean, I think we've talked about it before, kind of like this. I mean, and you know, I don't know how to say it except in one way. There's just one message, which we could probably say kind of simply, which just is there's nothing here.
Yeah.
And then maybe a few elaborations on that. But then there are these different ways of talking and expressing, and maybe different, you know, which has to do with different personalities. Talking,
yeah, absolutely, yeah.
You know, you can talk about the different notes of the orchestra, you know, it's like all different instruments or whatever. And then also that it resonates with people differently, because, you know, people, there's the speakers and the hearers and whatever, and it's kind of all going together, and people hear things differently, and some people respond to certain language, and
yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Naturally, I mean, I've talked to you about a little bit about how, you know, on the one hand, this message is very non-personal. It has nothing to do with a person. It's really just all about, hey, you know, there isn't any person. And all of the problems that are generated by life come from the sense of a person. Yeah. But also there's a big part of my own, you know, urge to talk that has to do with personal stuff. It has to do with, you know, so, and that's just me.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny you should say that, and I remember you saying that. But I agree. It's not even that I agree. I agree. It's obvious that it's, you know what I mean? Yeah, but it's funny. When was it? I don't remember. But in a French talk recently, oh yeah, well actually it was yesterday. I was saying that how it seems is that how I speak, let's put it like this, as opposed to when I started speaking in French anyway, which is what, just 5-6 months ago, something like that. I don't know, not even actually. It is, you know, at the beginning, I would say there was this kind of, the words that come out will be a lot of Tony Parsons, Jim Newman, whatever, influenced, if I can say, probably because I heard it so much. It's not like, it was not on purpose, it's just what came out. You hear him saying, of course.
Everybody's influenced by them pretty much.
Well, yeah, exactly. But now it's funny, and even more in French, even more so in French than in English, I think. But it's Maxx, and that and that's just that relates back to what you just said, that it's no one's message. It's not an actual message. It's nothing. It's just speaking, but it's spoken with. This is this body speaking and not that body speaking, and vice versa. And so of course it's actually extremely personal. And what's funny is, I mean, I had to laugh at it, but when I kind of hear myself talk in a way, I mean, afterwards or something, if I watch a bit the video, and I'm like, wow, that's just me. And the funny thing is, it's clear that I've always spoken like that. Does that somehow make sense? Do you know what I mean? It's
think so. I mean, I relate to that totally.
Yeah, right. There you go. Okay. Yeah. And it's I don't know. I think it's just amazing how.
Yeah.
I mean, if there was something to understand, it would have been understood. You know, if there was something known, it would be known. And so if there was an actual, you know, something of importance being shared, it would be shared as well, you know.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think I see the loophole here, because I mean, this is the way I would say it, is that I mean, the reason why it needs, you know, so-called needs to be shared and it isn't known is because the thing that is being shared is that there isn't anything known. That's what it is. There's nothing knowable. So that's why it's not like it could be known and then shared, what we're doing, is sharing, so-called sharing, that there's nothing known and nothing knowable.
Absolutely.
And that's the big secret. So-called secret.
Yeah.
Which I agree, though, that everybody really knows it too.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
if it wasn't known, not by anyone, but purely just known, just whatever that means.
Right.
I still don't know what known means, but I think it's still a good word, actually. If it wasn't known.
Yeah. We have to use the words that we have.
Yeah, exactly. It couldn't be spoken out.
Right.
And so I guess it's like sometimes, sorry, my phone is vibrating. It's like sometimes when I don't know about you, but what I used to have still now, I don't know what used to happen is that sometimes if you're kind of looking for something, not in the sense seeking, but just that something's bugging you or whatever about something, and then you can't put the words on it, and then suddenly you hear someone say something and like, that's it. It's the very same thing. And then you realize you knew that thank you, that's what I was looking for. Be it just looking for a word that a word doesn't come out, and then someone says it, that's the word. And it's known. It's just somehow that makes sense. It's the very same with this sharing or exchanging or whatever. It's the very same. It's just everyone knows it. And at some point, maybe it really is known that there isn't anything known, basically. But everyone knows it already. I mean,
and so you could almost have the feeling that this is like a big game being played out, where one is pretending not to know and the other one is pretending to know or not, or no, whatever. Between the speaker playing the seeker, whatever. But it's really, I mean, there isn't anyone there anyway, right? So
no,
it's just this strange thing, like a dance, but there also is, not to be Mr. Professor here, but the Greek idea of education, that's where the word education comes from. You probably know Latin better than I do, but no, wait a minute.
Few words, but
Greek actually was the Greek. I don't think the Greeks spoke Latin. Speaking of Mr. Professor. Anyway, it means to draw out. To be education process is to draw out. So they had the idea that everybody has all of the knowledge inside them already. So it's not like when you go to school, it's not like you're learning anything. It's really the teacher is drawing, or the activity of education draws it out.
That. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, actually.
So that's kind of how I feel it too. It's like, and somehow, there's just, go ahead.
No, go on.
Yeah, there's just this, this dance or this game of talking and, somebody feeling like they don't quite have it, and they, or I'm getting, like you were saying, maybe they feel like they're getting lighter, losing the me is getting lighter, or their things are getting better or whatever, or, whatever there seems to be a process and can involve all kinds of things. But, and then from the speaker's point of view, there's a process of trying, well, it's the same kind of thing.
There's a process of pointing out that there isn't one, basically. I mean, that's it's amazing. It's really amazing, and which makes what you're saying makes me think as well, because as you pointed out, it's the loophole is that it's pointing out really that nothing is known, and so, but at the same time,
No, go ahead. I was just going to say, but the person cannot hear that.
But no, exactly. Well, if there was someone, it could be heard, right? I mean, if there was someone to hear it, then but you know what I mean. It's I think, but anyway, where I'm going with it is yeah, because so nothing is known. But that's basically, I don't know, that's obviousness itself. That's how I would say. So that's why known, unknown, you don't know, but because it at the same time, everyone, and there isn't anyone, but everybody, let's put it, actually already knows that there isn't anything known, then how can it be claimed as a truth that nothing is known? It's impossible. So whether we say it, everything is already known or nothing is known, once again, it's the very same thing. It makes no difference.
Absolutely.
This is the beauty of that, because I think in that kind of message that one of the center aspects that comes a lot with our speakers is that knowing is the person, and there isn't a person, ergo there is no knowing, or however you want to put it, but that is the illusion, and that nothing can be done to stop it, or to, because, well, it's an illusion, and because it's just heard when it's heard, basically, or seen when it's seen, however you want to phrase it, once again. But that's just a word. That's just an idea. That nothing is known is just an idea, or that's because how could I know, or anyone, right, that nothing is known? I don't know that.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty. I mean, that's the amazing, because you can, I don't know, it's nothing is known, obvious, but, well, I don't know that. I don't, yeah, it's just.
You don't know it because nothing is known is not knowledge. It's
no,
not
exactly.
a piece of knowledge.
Exactly, yeah.
The only thing that can be known is knowledge.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is another way of saying the only thing that can be known is some kind of object.
Yeah.
Some kind of thing.
Yeah.
Whereas, as I said, you said you like that one video that I made about people interested in nothing.
Yeah.
And that the person is just only possibly interested in something. It can only see something, and it can only be, because it is knowing, and knowing has to know something. It can't know nothing. That's the. So, and nothing is what there is everywhere, right? The most obvious thing.
Yeah.
But it can't be seen by that person function.
Nope. No way. Yeah, it's
game.
Person function, and I like the way you phrase it, person function, because it's the person is a function of the body, and
or a function of who we don't even know what it's a function of.
No, absolutely, we don't even. Yeah, absolutely. But what I mean is, I mean, it's a function, right? But it's the one of all possible, let's say, organic functions, that's the one function that is not necessary, literally.
Yeah.
Breathing, eating, sleeping.
Yeah.
But being someone, that's the overlay. It's amazing. It's just,
that's why it's an overlay. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's an add-on that's completely unnecessary, superfluous. I mean, it's not even real, right?
Yeah.
So good thing. Yeah, it has no function. It's just, and it's weird, right? It's just
it is weird, and I think that's why as well. I guess words like awakening or liberation or enlightenment even are used or have been used. I don't know, because sure, it's an overlay. So it's a load off. It really is a load off, literally. A weight off. But at the same time, I couldn't possibly claim that life is better than it was before, simply because it's obvious that it never actually was before. So I don't know what I would compare it to. I just have no idea.
Yeah, well, it goes back to those MC Escher prints that we you know, we're talking
Oh
like,
yeah.
these these two kind of things that you can't really put together, but yet they are together. I mean, on the one hand, there is no liberation because
Hmm.
there isn't anything. And when would it happen? Where would it happen? Who would it happen to?
Yeah,
It
yeah,
doesn't even compute. It makes no sense. It would be like an extra add-on to even talk
yeah,
about a liberation. You know, it would just
yeah,
be a story. But on the other hand,
yeah,
there is an experience, you know, that is a story of liberation. You know, it does make a difference. It is something that we, you know,
yeah.
can talk
It
about.
is.
So,
I think it's Andreas who talks about the natural reality or something like that, and I think
yeah,
it describes it quite well actually, because it's natural reality as opposed to having this overlay of me, really.
right,
Well, then, sure, it is better. I still don't know what I'm comparing it
right,
to, but it is better, you know,
right.
lighter, easier, simpler. I don't know, simpler. Actually, simpler. But again, I don't know why it's compared to. But it's obvious that it's
Yeah,
how things are meant to be, as
right.
opposed to I say that not
Yeah,
as in
totally. I
purpose or
mean, you can
whatever, but
understand why, I
yeah,
mean, forever it's, you know, always talked about as like realizing my true nature
yeah,
or self-realization or, you know,
yeah,
all
yeah,
these different words, you
yeah,
know,
yeah,
which is always in terms of like, you know, or just the removing of the veil or, you know, all these things that it's natural to talk about it that way. And then of
yeah,
course, from a non-radical, non-dual point of view, that would tend to be, you know,
yeah.
shied away from because it seems it gets turned into a story and, you know,
It does. I think the only massive and nothing, but the only difference is basically how it's shared, really, because
right.
you know what I mean? Because but I mean, to me, I couldn't talk
Mhm.
about something like that has been gotten or enlightened or liberated. It makes no
Right,
sense. It's just obvious that it's a story. Um,
right.
but I can appreciate people talk like that,
Yeah,
and we're
yeah,
talking about the exact same thing. That I can, yes, absolutely. It's just the communication is very
right.
different,
And
very different.
particularly
Yeah,
if you're communicating and because, uh, you know, there's such an obvious tendency for the me to want to
yeah,
turn all of this into a carrot to be,
yeah,
you know, chased
exactly,
after, you know,
exactly.
which is not the point at all. You
Yeah,
know?
yeah. No, it's not. That's the yeah,
And whatever true nature is, or whatever like so-called natural reality, or whatever Andreas
yeah,
said, how he said it, you know, the person will turn that into a thing, you know.
yeah.
Oh, I'm not in my natural reality and I'm gonna get to natural reality.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah.
So
And that's not what is meant at all. It's that's
yeah,
why again it's what we're talking about is impossible to talk about because there isn't anything that's
and there
spoken
only
about.
is natural reality.
They're only yeah they're only yeah
But then it's kind of
Eh,
paradoxical in a way because there also is this sense of being separate from the
and
natural being
and
one.
I can completely understand the struggle of basically trying to understand what's being
Yeah,
shared here, just the two of us or then whomever else anyway, because it seems so, or it can seem that there is really something here of importance. There's something that is spoken about
yeah,
that those two guys have, and that I don't have. And
of
no,
course.
it's literally saying, well, actually, if anything, it's the other way around. It's just, I could say that there's something that's left here and that you think you have, not you, Dan. I mean, just
No,
whomever.
I understand. I
Yeah,
understand.
and well, no, guys. I mean, that's just there isn't. How can you point out what cannot be pointed out? Well, you can't.
Yeah,
But we're trying anyway. That is freaking amazing. I
it
mean,
is.
that is freaking amazing.
It's wacky.
It is. It is. It is. And of course, from a seeker's perspective, it racks your head. And from a speaker's perspective, and by saying this, I really do not mean to say that there is a difference between the two, because there isn't. But using words, well, it's funny, or it's nice, or it's just what's happening, however you want to phrase it. But it's got this lightness to it, which for someone that feels like seeking doesn't have. Or there is no lightness felt, but you hear him saying that there's a heaviness on the seeker's perspective and a lightness, apparently so anyway, to the speaker's perspective.
Yeah. Except when your wife is sick and you don't know where your money's going to be coming from next year.
It's exactly this. That's why. Again, you see that's why. Well, I don't know if that's why, but like as far as Maxx is concerned, let's put it like this: the most honest, clearest thing I can say is I do not know anything. Well, that's the sharpest thing to say. It doesn't come close so far. But it's just, as far as this character is concerned, it's just the sharpest thing. Or I have no clue, or something like that. No, I
totally hear that. I mean, I mean, I think that's kind of both what we both are doing by talking, just trying to hear that. You know. That I don't know. And of course, when the person hears that, they hear it as a person who doesn't know, you know, if they say, oh, you know, and then they try not to know, or they try to,
yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Or the dimension lightness. So yes, still there is something, but no, there isn't. It's just words. It's just words. It's just
right. But there is an inherent lightness to well, what was that? What is Andreas's natural
reality? I think he says,
yeah. Okay, because that's a new one. That's a good. I mean, because these words like reality or what is or just this or you know, kind of cumbersome. But anyway, no. But I mean, there's a natural lightness to that. To just it is without this me energy. You know, the me energy is a heaviness. It's not real, doesn't exist. But it's a real heaviness. Anyway. So then there's naturally, of course, there's a lightness.
That was gold. I love what you just said. It's not real, it doesn't exist, but there is a real heaviness. Absolutely. 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 It's
again just, that's like those two sides of the coin that kind of don't really go together, but they are together.
But it's I don't know, lately what's been just experienced is just really, I have no clue at all about anything. I honestly, I don't know that the wall is red yet. I mean, again, it's obvious. It's not that I'm not saying I don't know, as in I would deny that I would consider that color red, right? But then again, I still don't know what the color is, and it's just, I mean, it's just amazing.
That's the freedom.
That's the freedom.
That's the freedom.
That's the freedom.
Kind of trying to I wouldn't say share. I don't know what the word would be, but
alludes to, maybe, I don't know. That we're trying to allude to. I don't know
or point or just celebrate. I don't know what the
celebrate. Sure.
Because it's everybody's freedom. It's all it's what it is. But but it can't be. It's no knowing. And I don't know. Somehow this Maxx character saw that there's no position anywhere. And without a position, how can there be any knowledge?
Exactly.
Know anything? There's no starting point for anything. You can't get anything in your sights to get an aim on it, to know it. And there isn't anything that could be known. There's just this, like you say, in the form of a red wall. But what is a red wall? There's no way to know that. And nothing has ever been known.
No.
Everything
Yeah.
that's been known is just knowledge that's based on some knowledge that's already assumed. It's a
Exactly.
game, like a
Yeah.
dictionary. All the words are in there, and they all, go back to each other. If they just refer to back and forth to each other, but none of the words in the dictionary know anything about
No. Yeah.
dictionary or a word or anything.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, it's and so again, a dictionary will be trying to make sense of what cannot be made sense of, except it seems that it can be made sense of because there's a massive book that's called a dictionary to relate to that. And it's like, look, and some people actually learn that. I mean, actually, I heard of people that actually try to learn the dictionary by heart. I'm like, wow. And that's, I mean, that I find that from a memory ability perspective, or that's just amazing. I mean, I wouldn't even think of that, my God, but
you would be a lot of fun at parties.
It could be. But then again, imagine if that was possible and that there would be apparent someone, let's say, or whatever, who know the latest edition of the Harps or whatever by heart. And then they say it all at a party, right? I'm sure it would take days and days and days, even more, but anyway, and they do it, and no mistake whatsoever, just even the fucking numbers, the figures, they've got it all. And then, so what? What does it change? Here's the knowledge of the dictionary that's just been blown into nothing. There is no knowledge, period.
Right.
But you can prove that.
No. Well, in a way, I mean, no, it can't be proven. And in a way, I mean, that's what the person is. The person is like a dictionary that's trying to know itself, but with its own, just by going to its own dictionary and trying to know the world, trying to know anyway, trying to get some knowledge of something, but there is no knowledge available. And the stuff in the dictionary, it's got a lot of stuff in there, but there's no knowledge in there. I mean, there's no knowledge of anything real. No. So there's just words.
And again, that's the freedom. That's really nothing is known. It's just but it's so not the freedom that what the words seem to mean for someone.
Exactly.
It's so not that.
Anybody's looking for.
Yeah. Freedom, that sounds nice. Well, yeah, but it's just there's no way back, there's no way in, there's no direction, no whatever, no knowledge, no center, no idea, no solid thing, nothing of that exists. And yet, well, all there is what is, and what is a fucking red wool, I mean, it's just sensational.
It's a cliche, but the freedom is just what's here without the person, and even with the person, because it's still just what's here, whether it's with the person or without. But from the person's point of view, there's no freedom. It's just that little person that so-called, so to speak, stands in the way. And that's the crazy thing about it. There's only freedom. But there's this idea of not free, which is the person. And the person is that energy of trying to get free. As me. It is. And that's impossible.
And that is real for the person, but it is not real, period.
Exactly.
It's just what's happening.
And it's amazing that I don't know, people are attracted to this talk, this crazy talk, about no person. And so we can hang out with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's but I don't know, when there's I don't know, there could be many reasons for it. You can just officially never have been seeking, if that makes sense, never been aware that you're seeking anyway.
Right.
Everyone is, and then, well, everyone up until maybe you don't, and then you come across that message, and then boom, that's it. Second, a minute, I don't know, but boom, that's it. Or maybe you've been, like, for me, it was more the other way around. It's like I was seeking so much and so hard, and I tried so many things that at some point I just had enough, and then at some point I could hear the simplicity of what was said. There was no other option anymore. But by this, I certainly don't mean that it's because I thought for decades that the seeking apparently stopped. No, it's just, that just never happened. That just never actually was. And it's just because the center that I thought was there never was. So yeah, it's, yeah, I don't know why people would be attracted to that, honestly, you know, just like I don't know why we're speaking about that, you know.
Right, but like this, exactly. But I mean, I have the same sense that you do, which you said before, which is that, you know, there's something in everybody that knows this, you know, there's just something in it. So
yeah.
And
yeah, it's just, I mean, how could it not? Because it's life as life, or whatever that would be anyway. So how can it not be already known in a way? But it's just, yeah, there's this overlay of, I don't know what.
Yeah, I mean, how could you explain it?
You can't. You just can't. But it's not true. You can explain it.
Well,
but it's just an explanation.
Right, exactly. I mean, there's plenty of explanations, you know, all these religious systems like Vedanta and all these Buddhist, you know, school, all these different traditions that have a big, long explanation for why everything is, you know, how to
but I can imagine quite easily that back then it kind of made sense. It would attract many people, and maybe many people would hear, what do I know, you know, because of whatever different codes, language, culture, whatever. But on the other hand, I can't affirm that ever actually happened. Actually, I could even say that never, that obviously actually never happened. But wonderful.
Or you could say it apparently happened in some story, but it's irrelevant to anything, because nothing is relevant to anything. Maybe that red wall is the most relevant thing we can find, but you know,
maybe it just, nothing's relevant, but just
no, but you know, it's just a more interesting part of the story. But there does seem to be something about, you know, the seeking thing, the story of seeking. I mean, I certainly had a seeking story, and that's the way that's the way my story seems to have gone, you know. I would say seeking, like from a really young age, very, like it was my full-time gig pretty much. And then at some point I kind of somehow realized that, or kind of understood, so-called understood, that what I was sort of seeking was not findable, but there was still seeking, and then somehow it just went away. So I could tell that story, and then somebody else could say, oh, well, you were a seeker, and that's why you're not a seeker anymore, you know. But I don't know, what can you say?
Okay, could say that makes sense, maybe. I don't know, but whether that's true or not, no idea.
But then,
you see, it's like saying that what's happening is uncaused. Well, I don't know that to be uncaused.
well,
it's obvious that it's uncaused, but I wouldn't know that, you know what I mean? I wouldn't know that. I wouldn't know anything. Nothing.
Well, I mean, to tell a story of cause would mean sort of, you know, having to tell a story and kind of assume that there's some kind of knowledge of something called a cause, and something called time, and something called a, you know, we have to assume all these, which, how can you, there's nothing to keep
that's the point, because then but for there to be a cause, for there to be a cause, it would there would need to be a solid point in time and space that is real and that actually and that's a starting point. And then what comes before the starting point? Well, maybe another one. So so again, but also saying that nothing causes anything. Sure, but I don't know that either.
No.
Because there's no knowing the other way. There's no knowing of something or a thing called nothing, which doesn't exist, that would be the no cause. Does that make sense? But then again, using simple words, it's I simply say, yeah, nothing is caused. Nothing. There's no causality. It's just obvious.
And in order for there to be a cause, there also would have to be a you there to see it and know it.
Yeah.
And there isn't.
Yeah.
So that kind of blows up the whole project right there. I mean, unless you can, find an actual me somewhere who's real and is, can know something aside from just a story of a person.
Yeah.
The story of we can't get out of the fact that it's just whatever it was known is always a story.
Yeah.
And the story is not this.
No. Nope.
And all there is this.
Yeah.
And of course, within a story, there wouldn't be the freedom either, because if there's a cause and an effect, there goes your freedom, because there's something solid that is going to be determined. It has to be. That effect is, there's a clause and it has to be exactly what it is. And then the effect is what it is.
Yeah.
So there's your no freedom anymore. Yeah. But that's what never exists.
Nope.
Except the story we tell.
Yeah.
But the story is still here too. We have all these stories. It's just.
Exactly. So it's not like there's no story. It's just, it's not personal. But it's never been personal because there never was anyone. Or anything, so nothing is happening, and I don't know that. It's just obvious.
Right, but this just what we're pointing to right now could be a good contemplation. A good if one who didn't exist wanted to, it could break the mind, because kind of.
Yeah. Well, yeah, if there was a mind to begin with, exactly. But
well, the mind is already broken.
So there's nothing to do. This is it, as it is, whatever this is. Yeah.
Well, now what are we going to do about it? There's nothing to do. Got to do something about that.
Yeah. Seems pretty impossible.
No, I'm saying that's what the me is.
I know. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, I know. I assumed. Yeah, it's easy. The thing is, it's just so the message is so simple. Because you could argue that all we've been saying can sound quite complicated. I don't know. I can imagine it does.
You can make it complicated.
But the message is just so simple. There is just this. And this is not known. And there isn't anyone to know this. And that's already way too much. But it's that simple. It's just, there is just this seeming happening. I don't know. Yeah. Yeah. And it definitely is the most interesting thing to talk about, I find anyway.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, you mentioned that nasty word, love, before. You know, we don't really, you know, it is a bad, you know, it's especially in English. I don't know what it's like in French, but well, if there's an equivalent, but
Yeah.
French is a little more nuanced, and but I mean, in English we have this word love, you know, and then there is an inclination to use it with this, but then you don't want to because it's very sticky and it has all kinds of weird
Yeah.
connotation to it, and it sounds like a story immediately. But what I'm really started to say is that it does bring back that word love, you know, when we start to talk about this, you know, there is a sense of love about it, you know, like wanting to
Absolutely.
share out of a love, you know. And what else?
Nothing else, actually. If I had to use a word to describe the reason or the very apparent why of this talk, that's love.
Yeah.
And well, yeah, but
Kind of why do you do
but yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's I think in the it's a bit like the word enlightenment, right? There's been so many ideas and it's been heard
right?
so much that you no, even the word non-duality now I think has become, you know, one of these words
Oh
with
yeah.
just, you know.
Yeah, it's
And
terrible.
so I think for me, love just inner sharing just doesn't work that well. I don't think so.
Right, right. Yeah.
I don't think so.
No, it
But
doesn't. It doesn't.
purely from a communication perspective, if that makes
Sure.
sense. Because yeah, this is love. Sure. Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
like God would be another one of those words that you can't really use, even if you wanted to. Which
Absolutely.
anyway, but
Yeah. No, absolutely.
there's some words that.
You
Yeah.
know, sorry. Go on. Yeah.
I'm just going to say there's some words, particularly in English, you know, that just kind of aren't usable, just
Yeah.
because.
But it seems it's the very same words in French, like yeah, love, God.
Yeah.
Non-duality, no, because it's less known as a word in French, but it exists as well.
Mhm.
And already there's like, I don't know, maybe 15, 20 people that mention non-duality or talk about so-called non-duality on
Right.
YouTube or whatever in French, but that's not non-duality. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
it's you know, it's just a teaching. Some of them have a radical side, but it's still a teaching, you know, it's still something to be gained or offered or whatever.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Well, it's become a buzzword now in the culture,
Yeah.
you know, out in it's a meme, you know, and
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
marketing label and all kinds of things, which, yeah.
Yeah,
And
it
then,
is. But
and then
sorry, go on.
I was just going to say, what kind of non-duality are you talking about? I mean, Eckhart Tolle is non-duality, and Muji is non-duality, you know, so there's all kinds of non-dualities, and
Yeah.
you know, it depends on what people are talking about.
That's something I've always liked about your videos is the titles. I never read once non-duality ever.
Okay,
And
that's good. Yeah, I don't know if I did that consciously, but I do try now. I've been using the word more lately, and I kind of have avoided it because I don't like it. But
me,
yeah, it's hard.
I,
It's
I,
hard.
I, I, I use it purely from marketing reasons, really.
Yeah. Well, actually, you kind of reminded me about the whole issue, but yeah, I think I'm going to have to embrace non-duality. There's
Yeah,
part of me
but
that really doesn't want to. Of course, I don't like labels anyway, but I almost still have a hope of like thinking of something else, some total other way to talk about this that doesn't use non-duality. But
yeah,
oh well.
I okay, so I can't explain it differently than what I'm going to say, and it's not very clear yet, but for me, if that makes sense. But like I said earlier, I've noticed my speaking changing quite much, especially in French, in English too, but especially in French. And it's like some things being born out of nothing, and which is nothing, obviously, but in the way Max speaks, is put like this.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't explain it. It's just, it's always this message. It always will be this message. It can't be anything else. That's the obvious part, but in a somehow very different way. And again, I can't explain. I don't know that to be true or whatever. It's just a feeling, you know, or observation even. Because it's not like I'm doing it. It's just I notice sometimes people ask a question or say something, and then I go blah 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 blah, but in a way that is just, it's got nothing to do with whatever has been heard, I think anyway, about non-duality or whatever. It's just, like I said earlier, purely Max speaking, and it's, I don't know. It's funny. I don't know if that's good or bad or whatever. Frankly, I don't give a shit. It's just what's going on. But it's but what I sense though is when there is that sort of speak from Max's body. Let's put it like this. Mm-hmm. There's a tremendous enjoyment here felt, and so. Why else but for enjoyment would I do that anyway? Speak about it. Honestly, I don't see any other reason.
Right.
I mean, sure, I'm going to use another forbidden expression, but helping people 100%. Does that make sense? But
yeah, it does to me.
You know, it does to me too. And by this, I don't mean there is anyone to help it. Not one bit. Just. I don't know. I've witnessed a good few times now. Actually, it's just people that talk with me or whatever, and at some point, just it seems, or they report that listening to what I said or whatever, just something whatever.
Mm-hmm. When
I hear that, this is just best fucking gift in the world. I can't explain it, and it doesn't mean anything, but it's beautiful. It's that to me would be love. That to me would be love. Definitely.
Well, that's what I was thinking while you were talking, you know, it's just the same thing we already both referred to. Yeah, no, I totally get what you're saying. I totally agree. And I feel the same way.
Yeah.
And I mean, I kind of know what you mean also, just in one way. I mean, there are speakers who kind of in a way are less personal. They're more, like you say, kind of delivering the words, you know, maybe that are in the same thing that Tony would be saying, and it's not so personal. And that's a great thing in itself, you know.
It is, absolutely.
That about it. But then there's other people who just, the expression is more personal and just happens to be more part of comes out more out of a more personal expression. And I think you and I are both kind of like that. And
I think so too.
And we, you know, we're humans, we're people. So I mean, you know, that's kind of part of all of this anyway too.
Oh my God, I love what you just said, because it's so freaking true. If you don't have the non-duality stickers, let's say, you just said we're people. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Because it's so freaking, I mean.
Yeah, and I keep coming back to that. I can't get away from that. That's why I say, for me, it's like both of these two things are together. And
because there isn't anyone, but everyone is a,
right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and there, you know, there's a sense in, you know, this weird game or dance or play or whatever of being individual people taught, you know, living in an apparent human world, all that stuff. But at the same time, it's just all nothing. And it's just, I mean, there's all these different, and then different dimensions of that are included, of more universal and more personal, more separate and more, anyway, what I mean is, there's just, I don't know, there's something human about it. I think about, it's like an artist, you know, an artist is expressing something that's universal, you know, that's why it's so profound to so many people, but they're expressing it through their own individuality and their own body and their own, you know, experience and their particular way of painting or talking or whatever. And that's kind of part of all of this, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we're still just guys sitting here talking, so.
Nothing else. Yeah, it's just so, it's something that comes a lot as well, just so that I don't know, as a thought, let's say, is at the end of the day, it's just talking. Just talking.
Right.
And of course, the way Dan talks is not the way Maxx talks, is not the way Tony Parson talks, etc., etc., etc. Ergo, it's no one's message, but it never is the exact same message, but it has the exact same component of nothing fucking happening, or however you want to say it, basically. That's just, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Maybe a good point to stop if you feel like it.
To leave it like that, yeah. That's perfect. Yeah. Cool. That's lovely.
Yeah. We had nothing to talk about, but
we never do we? Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's fun.
Well, it's really fun. Thanks, buddy. It was really nice.